Good evening and welcome to the T3 Handicapping channel on YouTube. I am Chris from T3 Handicapping and I am here to break down the Pegasus World Cup card from Gulfstream Park. That will be on Saturday, January 29th, 2022. Of course, the marquee matchup is in the Pegasus World Cup Invitational with Knicks going head-to-head with Life is Good. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. First of all, if you are new to this channel, please make sure that you like and subscribe. That way you can get updates on all of our content as it happens. There's lots of things happening here at T3 Handicapping. So if you want to get access to a lot of our stuff, the best place to go is to our website, t3handicapping.weebly.com. And one of the things that I'm really excited about is I've actually packaged up our software. So the software that I use to create the picks, I've actually packaged that now for your download. So if you want to go and purchase that, you can do so from our website. It's $49.99, but that gives you access to the software itself, and then you can use DRF data files to basically handicap any track that you want around the country, so you're not reliant on what we handicap. We will continue to put out things here and there, but that should give you the option to kind of do it at your own pace and your own timeline. So you can also find us on YouTube right here. Like and subscribe. That way you always get video content. You can join our Facebook page, facebook.com/T3 Handicapping. You can also just look for T3 Handicapping Horse Racing. And then you can find us on Twitter at Handicapping T3. And all of those places are great ways to get in touch with us. We kind of put out exclusive stuff, especially on the Facebook page, stuff that's exclusive to just members of that page. So make sure you're liking and following there. We'll continue to do these videos on YouTube and Twitter. We'll tend to post more timely information, relevant to right now. So scratches come out and things like that. That being said, with this breakdown of the Pegasus World Cup card, it's important to know that this is pre-scratch. So we're recording this the night before. So as scratches come out, I will go through and I will actually remove those entries from our algorithm, and it will recalibrate the whole thing. So what you're seeing here may not end up being the final picks and the final plays that I use, but certainly that's where being a part of our Facebook page and checking out our website can be very helpful. So let's go ahead and let's jump into this card and let's take a look at what we have. I think it's going to be a really nice card on the day. As you can see, I've got a lot of horses that got spit out in our algorithm towards the top. One of the reasons for this is on a big day, you're going to see this a lot early, which is you're going to see a ton of horses in there. But then as scratches come out, the horses are going to separate, because when I go through and I put these things together, the horses, there's not as much separation when you start looking at a ton of horses. There's a very small separator between certain ones. And as horses scratch out, that separation can sometimes become greater. So a lot of these horses will start to fall off. If you're new to the product and you haven't used it before, generally speaking, our top four hit between 75 and 80%. And Gulfstream does tend to be one of our better places. So even though we have all these horses like on the C line in race number one, I'm going to be much more inclined to use kind of the top four. Doesn't mean that's all I ever use, but something I look to. These top plays over here, again, these are horses that are spit out by our algorithm as horses that rank 10 points or better, 8 points or better higher than the next horse. Sometimes that can be a little deceiving. We always encourage you to implement your own handicapping into these picks as well. And with that, if you have any selections, anything you're excited about on Pegasus World Cup Day, or any favorites you think might be vulnerable, go ahead and drop them in the comments section in the chat, and we can use that, whether people are watching live or coming back and checking later. People can see your input as well. So great chance to let your voice be heard. Let's just jump into things right away. Now, if you've watched these videos before, you'll notice some different markings on the pages today. And that's because I've used a couple of different things. On these big days, I like to really gather as much information as I can. So we have our main page here. You see I've got my final grades, what I'm going to be kind of playing personally. And then over here, you're going to notice blue Bs and red S's or S pluses. So if you purchase the software off of our website, you're going to actually get a bonus metric or two bonus metrics. One is our benchmark speed figure, and the other one is our split 100 figure. The benchmark speed figure is kind of a adjusted speed figure, and then the split 100 is sort of a class speed figure hybrid. So the B means that the horse rated out as a benchmark speed figure, so they've hit high enough above the benchmark speed figure to qualify. The S means that the horse rates out well on our split 100 figure. So S plus means they're tops. And then the S's just mean that they're still within a reasonable amount. So I use a little bit of that with all the things that I've already done. And again, if you purchase the handicapping software, you will have access to that worksheet. It'll auto-populate as well, so you can see some of those numbers too. So when I went through this, I really liked Town Classic. Town Classic came out as the best. We are on the Tapeta. This doesn't look like it's going to be a terribly fast race. Speed has been holding a lot better on the Tapeta. But what I've noticed is you don't want to be inside. You want to be middle of the track to out. That should be no problem for Town Classic. Town Classic's not going to be there early, but Town Classic will be coming late, and that's good enough for me on this surface. I'm going to go Town Classic, but I do also want to use Light Fury and Yamoto as B-type horses. So they'll be on my primary bet lines. I mean, I'll be using them quite heavily on my tickets. I did use the 9, the 5, and the 8. So you can see Strike Appeal is a split 100. Lamplighter Jack is actually the top split 100 horse. And then Diligent is a benchmark speed figure horse as well. So I want to have them, but I want to have them as backups. If you give me 1, 4, 11, I think I'm getting through this race. And so I'll make sure to include them most heavily, but I do give slight preference to the 11 as my top selection there. A really good start to the card here with these class level 10 runners going around ground on the Tapeta. One of the things that I am excited about is they did card a relatively small number of Tapeta races for this day. Now, this one is a class level 14 going 8.5 furlongs on the dirt, and it actually projects to have a slow pace, which at Gulfstream Park, we don't tend to have slow paces, especially because the jockeys seem to know that being out on the lead and on the rail is a really good idea. And so they tend to kind of push there. Now, you're going to notice again, and I've talked about this a little bit in previous videos, is I don't always just use my numbers just straight up. So here you can see that Consulate at 15 to 1 came up as my top rated horse. The horse is more of a closing type. Based on what I've seen from the horse, it is a benchmark speed figure horse, but I'm not convinced this horse is A caliber material if it's going to close. Now, if they get it more involved early, then maybe we got a shot, but I'm not 100% convinced. So I actually bumped that one down to my B line. There's a couple that I like better, and you'll notice that in some cases I went way beyond my top 4 selections. So I like the 1, the 9, and the 10 in this spot. Beyond Best, comes up here in pace and ability rating. You'll also notice a B question mark, S plus question mark. So what that means is when we're talking benchmark speed figure, this one would have qualified, except its last 3 races did not qualify. So either they were on like the wrong surface, or they were more than 60 days ago. For horses coming off layoffs, they don't give a valid argument, or it doesn't come up with like a valid number. So it will actually list like, even though this horse doesn't have an active number, here's what their number would be based on their previous 3 races. And in this case, the horse would have qualified, even though the question mark indicates it's basically not a relevant race. And the same thing is true of the Speed 100. So these 3 horses actually rated higher in Speed 100 or Split 100, sorry, than some of our horses that would have otherwise taken it. So that's something to always be mindful of if you're using that as an important metric. So I like the number 1 Beyond Best, number 10 Complete Agenda, and the number 9 Happy Boy Rocket as kind of my top selections. There's a lot of unknowns in this race. Consulate I do look to improve and will certainly use heavily on the top line. So I'm not going to completely disregard that one. And like I said, I will, if that one wins, I will cash. cash. The other ones that I'm kind of interested in, Mad Mocha, again, both that benchmark speed figure and the split 100. I'm not sure how valid that is, because, like I said, it's not a relevant race, but it looks good when I see those two combined. That's usually a pretty good indication that a horse might have talent. Again, Montauk Point, same thing. You've got a split 100 that would trump these in other situations, and then Practical Way, unknown, could improve the 6-1 morning line. Given some of the other morning lines here, might suggest there's a word out that that one has something more to give. So I'm going to take a chance with that, and I'm going to want to go deep in this race. But certainly I've got some choices there. I do like the ones on that I had on the top the most. Now we're going to race 3 on this 12 race card. So it's going to be a marathon. We're going class level 8. If you're new, the lower the class level, the better the horses are. 8.5 furlongs on the inner surface, which is the turf, now that they've included the Tapeta surface. And this one looks like it's going to be fast. The Gulfstream turf, when they've run on it, has typically favored front runners or just off the lead types. I like 10 and 11 here. And again, you'll notice I went a little off of my board when it comes to who I'm selecting. But this seems like a really wide open race. I do like the 10 Final Bell, 8-1. And I like Gladys as well. Gladys has the best of race flow, as well as getting both a B and an S plus. So that means those numbers are confirmed because there's no question mark. Other horses that I like in this spot, I do like Lucy's Cakes Fly at 8-1. Rates out as the top horse in our algorithm. Serenade Kitten at 20-1 just seems like a steal. I mean, I think that's one you want to have on your tickets, even if not in the winning position. You definitely want to have on there. Star Seeking is one that gave me trouble just because the horse is shipping from out of town, and so I don't have speed figures on that, and that disrupts a lot of the data. And so sometimes you'll see really talented runners from Europe or from other jurisdictions that, if they're coming from out of the United States, they don't have data that fits into the Brisnet files. And so they kind of are anomalies. They rank really low, but they just don't really have that much data to go off of. So that's one I definitely want to have as well. Then you have, as a couple of kind of outside players, I think Earth Strike could be interesting at 15-1 and Song of Innocence at 8-1. I don't love that the two are closers, but given that there's a fast pace on, I don't think you should let that totally dissuade you in this spot. Moving on now to race number 4. Race number 4 is going 7 furlongs on the dirt. It's a class level 14. And you can see here we've got a lot of Fs. Those are just first-time starters where we don't really have any data on. So this one's a real crapshoot, but I really do like Positive Brew. I know this one's going to be forwardly placed unless a lot of the first-time starters show a ton of speed. And so I'm thinking this one's going to be good, and I'll be most heavily through that horse. We'll have to wait and kind of see what the other ones possess. And certainly if the board is on fire for one of these other ones, you're definitely going to want to pay attention to that as well. But for now, I'm going to play most heavily through the 11. I do kind of like the 10 Swing Shift as sort of a first-time starter with maybe some interest. It's got some things that align for it. I would use the 8, 12, and 6 kind of down the line on my tickets, just not rushing at the window. But again, because this is a bunch of unknowns in this race, I'm definitely looking at this as an area where if the board is telling me something different, I'm going to head in that direction as well, or at least include more. Race number 5, 7 is the class level here. We're going to go 12 furlongs on the turf course, and this one projects to have a slow pace, which means you're going to want someone forwardly placed, and luckily I have Always Shopping in this race, who I think is going to be forward and is going to be tough to beat coming down the stretch. The only other ones that I would think about using are Sorrel and Beautiful Lover. Honestly, when it comes to some of my tickets, I'm going to be using Always Shopping as sort of my lone A, and then I would have maybe a backup through Sorrel. I don't think there's going to be a lot of value in Beautiful Lover, so I'm probably just going to have a 4 on 80% of my tickets, and then maybe a 1 through about 20%. You'll notice that this race did not have any benchmark speed figure horses, so none of the horses hit the minimum. It's an extremely evenly matched group, which is good, but turf races tend to be more like that just because speed figures aren't the be all end all. The races are often so close that the numbers tend to come back fairly evenly there as well. Race number 6, and again, as we're going through these, if you guys have any ideas about horses that you like in particular races, feel free to comment, throw those in the chat. I always love to hear what you're thinking as well, because I think groupthink can be very powerful. So, moving on to race number 6, we're kind of getting to the halfway point here. Class level 7, 8.32 furlongs, so just over a mile on the Tapeta surface. This is the last Tapeta. I believe this kicks off the Rainbow 6, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it starts in race 7. With 12 races, I think it starts in 7. So you get to avoid those for your Rainbow 6. With that being said, my top 3 horses here come out. I like Frosted Over. This is a horse that I know is going to be forward. This is a horse that rates well on my benchmark speed figure as well as the split 100 number. So that one has to be included. I like the 7 Telephone Talker and the 12 Journeyman as well. Journeyman will be a really nice price, so if I can get that one home, I'll be thrilled. I'm not as worried about the mid-pack run style because we are on the Tapeta. I would prefer if it was more of a V-type, kind of that stalking trip. But it's not the end of the world. I want to avoid closers if possible, but a mid-pack trip certainly is doable. Fancy Liquor is one that I think could be good here as well. Speed figures make sense. Has the stamina, has the foundation to do well. Could be the split 100 if it had a relevant race. Just doesn't have that. Looks positive on race flow, so definitely keep that one on side. And Law and Order as well, I think is another interesting one, and at a great price as well. So love to see that. Moving on to race number 7, class level 5, going 12 furlongs on the turf course, that inner surface at Gulfstream. This one looks to be fast up front, and this one I think is going to be a really, really fun race here. You've got Temple, who I think is very dangerous based on speed figures, based on the company it's been keeping so far. There's a lot of reasons to like Temple. Glynn County is a horse that I've won a lot of money on. I don't like Glynn County at 3-1 here quite as much. I prefer it. I think the last time I won money on that horse was like 6-1 or something like that. That was a much better, much more manageable price. I think it's going to be a tough spot for that one, especially coming from the outside with a lot of these talented runners. I do like a ban. That one's going to be more forward. As much as this is a turf race, and turf race, all the running happens at the end, this is still the Gulfstream Durf. I know they've preserved it. It looks in better shape, but they ran 2 turf races today, and you definitely want to still be close. That piece of it hasn't changed. The 4 and the 5, Media Blitz and King Cause, are kind of, to me, interesting horses that you can go beyond Temple, Glynn County, and a Bond with. But I think there's a lot of ways you can go. I mean, you bring in Farmington Road. That's an interesting name. Tiberius Mercurius, Sole Volante. So you're getting some of the big names of old, and depending on what scratches look like and things like that, there's a lot of different ways you can go here. And I think regardless, you're going to get value in this race because the money's just going to have to be spread around, and people are going to recognize some of the names and put money in that direction. So, race number 8, we've got a class level 6 going 7 furlongs on the dirt. You've got some names you've heard before if you follow the circuit. You've got Dance to Oro, Four Graces. You've got Pacific Gale, Family Time. Jakarta's in there as well. When I was looking through my selections, I landed mostly on Dance to Oro, who looks good on speed figures, which on the dirt does matter. The race flow looks good, should be close enough early, is in solid form, is a split 100 horse. Just a lot of positives there. I also like Jakarta. Jakarta is going to be right up there on the lead. The connections are solid. The class is good. So even though maybe some of the pace numbers aren't there for a stalking type, I think you could be in fine shape. The 7 post position to me isn't too much of a bother. And then Just One Time I think is interesting, is kind of an unknown. Now 3-1, it's a short price to take when you don't necessarily know, but I do know that that this one is capable of the type of performances to get the job done. So I wanted that one on my A line as well. On my B line, I had the 1, the 2, and the 5. So that's Family Time, AG, Indy, and for Graces. I think they're all in with a shot. Pacific Gale is a nice horse, but it just feels like this might be too big of a step up for that one. That was kind of the other one that I considered, but eventually just left off the tickets. Race number 9, class level 7, 8.5 furlongs on the inner turf. This is that new Pegasus race that they're running, and you've got Regal Glory as the favorite, and I think deservingly so. Shifty She and Sweet Melania are interesting choices, but for me, it's going to be mostly Sweet or Regal Glory. It's not revolutionary, it's not groundbreaking, but I do think that that's the best horse in the race. Uh, Sweet Melania just tries every time. Shifty She is going to be forwardly placed, so I like that. Um, those are kind of the main three, and then after that, to me, it's a fairly large drop off. The other ones I do want to use, I would use Nicest, who could potentially be the split 100 horse if the race was relevant, and then In a Hurry, I think is actually a really interesting long shot at 12 to 1. Wakanaka is another one that just kind of has a lot of unknowns, and could really come in and turn the apple cart upside down. But to me, it's like Regal Glory and Sweet Melania and Shifty She, or else that you're just kind of opening this thing wide open, and just kind of taking stabs with a lot of horses that look very similar in my opinion. But like I said, the next two I would take would be Nicest and number 10 In a Hurry. Um, with 3 races to go, again, if you have any big plays or anything that you're really excited to hammer at the windows, or maybe a favorite you're looking to play against tomorrow, go ahead and just drop that in the chat. Make a comment down below, and allow people watching this video to see what other great handicapping minds are thinking. In this race, I struggled because you've got a class level 5 going 8 furlongs on the dirt, and it projects to be fast, which races can be fast on the Gulfstream dirt, and front runners can still win. I don't know that Fearless is going to be on the lead. I think Fearless is going to sit off and try and pounce late. I like Fearless a lot. I wish Fearless was going to be a little bit more forward, have more of a run style like a Speaker's Corner, but I don't think that being a mid packer is necessarily going to be 6 lengths off, like we might think of it in other places. At Gulfstream, the jockeys are pretty acutely aware that that many furlongs back, or that many lengths back, isn't going to work. So 2 to 3 going up the back stretch, and then closing that gap as they enter the final turn and drawing nose to nose as they're coming around into the stretch. I'm okay with that trip. So I'm going to go with Fearless really heavily here. Outside of that, Liam's going to be forward. I like horses that are forward. Speaker's Corner is another one that obviously has to be respected. I am not at all interested in Dennis's Moment. And I know that's the third choice, so it's not like I'm taking a giant stand against a favorite or anything like that. But Dennis Moment just does nothing for me. I haven't really liked that horse from the beginning of its career, and I continue to be against that horse in every single race it runs. Now we get to the two biggies, the closeout legs here of the Pegasus World Cup. This is the turf, and you can see the class level here, 3.5 as the total points. So obviously very talented horses. You can see we're going 9 furlongs, and we're going on that inner turf course. And unsurprisingly, because of the caliber of these horses, almost every one of them, with the exception of Space Traveler, Doswell, and Atone, almost every one of them has a question mark. Now, the reason that they all have question marks is not because they didn't run on turf in their last 3. They did. That's why they're here. But horses at this level take time off. And so they're all getting that question mark because of the layoff. You'll also notice that they're all super close to each other, and there is no benchmark speed figure. The benchmark speed figure really looks at the horses that have run and looks for horses that have put up a number that's significantly above sort of the average of what this group is running. Well, these are turf horses. And so they're all very close to one another, and that's why you're seeing no benchmark speed figure. And the reason all of their split 100s are close is because the class gets capped. Because I don't make big distinctions between grade 1 and grade 2 fields. They're all kind of lumped in as one. And so you're seeing that all those numbers come out really close, and that makes for a really jumbled board. To me, I've loved Colonel Liam from the beginning of his career. I just think the horse is super cool, and I've enjoyed the wins it's had. I know it you know stumbled a little bit in the last out, but I think a bounce back performance is going to be just fine here, and I expect that one to get the job done, defend the title. Others that I'm going to be looking a lot to the outside, which isn't always great on the Gulfstream turf, but I like 8, 9, 10, 11. Sacred Life, Channel Cat, Field Pass, and Cross Border. Cross Border is one that is just, I kind of threw that one in because I like Cross Border. That's just a horse that I've always liked. I always have money on that horse, and sometimes it pans out and sometimes it doesn't. Field Pass I think is interesting. Is going to be forward, and if Channel Cat like blitzes and then stops, which coming from the 10 post, there's some possibility that could happen with a quick base to the inside. Channel Cat has one way of going. That's get to the lead and just keep running on with it. And if that one can't clear easily, I look for Field Pass to kind of let Channel Cat get down, and then Field Pass to just kind of sit off, sit off, sit off. And then as Channel Cat just dead stops, that one can come by, maybe Cross Border as well. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm not really interested in Never Surprised. I think Channel Cat is going to give this one everything that it can handle, being to its inside. And I just think Never Surprised is going to get hung out wide and is going to have to cover a lot more ground. And I think that's going to open the thing up for some more of these mid-pack runners. If things completely fall apart, that's where I like Sacred Life. Just going to bounce out of the gate, drop down as far down as it can, and try and make that one late run. I'll take Sacred Life as kind of a backup option, just in case that happens. And now the big one, the Pegasus World Cup. This is the showdown that everybody's been waiting for. And honestly, I feel like it's a race that it's probably best to keep your wager small and to just sit back and watch as a fan. Because if this race goes the way it's supposed to, then this is a two-horse showdown. This is Thrilla in Manila. This is a heavyweight fight. Two horses that love to be forward, two horses that are going to hopefully ding dong each other all the way around and make for just an incredible race. It's what I'm hoping for. Oftentimes these things don't deliver. We've seen Knicks Go lay up and just not have it, especially if Knicks Go doesn't get on the lead right away. That's where I think the rail is really good. And I've seen some people starting to kind of take the contrary approach, saying, well, yeah, but Life is Good is drawn to the outside. So now Life is Good, who does have a little bit more rateability, can sit to the outside, can press when needed and then drop off, and then press when needed and then drop off. Listen, Knicks Go, when Knicks Go is Knicks Go and is on the front, to me has been one of the most brilliant horses in training. I'm going to take my shot, and I'm going to go through Knicks Go. My algorithm says it's Knicks Go and Life is Good. I don't disagree with that. Betting wise, I don't think that's smart at all. Betting wise, I think you've got to pick one and ditch the other. I'm picking Knicks Go, and that's where I'm headed. Now, when I go to put together my backup ticket, I've got an interesting opinion, and that is Empty Tomb. I like Empty Tomb to kind of sit in behind these ones and to come running. The other one I might look at a little bit as well is Commandeer. That's another one that I think could just get kind of the right trip. If these two get out to the front and just totally light each other up and have nothing left in the tank, then I think it's probably at that point Empty Tomb. But I would also look to have a little Commandeer on my ticket as well. Sir Winston doesn't interest me. People are going to remember the name. They're going to overbet that horse. I'm just not a fan. Stiletto Boy is a front running type. You're going to get sandwiched between Life is Good and Knicks Go. Why bother? Chess Chief can drop off. Chess Chief has run some great races. I don't want to take anything away from Chess Chief, but if I'm going to take somebody outside of these horses, I'm going to take a real bomb. And that's why I like Empty Tomb. Gets that benchmark speed figure out of the runners, does have the the split 100 rating that makes it dangerous. Again, commandeer, split 100 potential, split 100 numbers do line up there as well and could get race flow. Just won't be as close as Empty Tomb, and I think at Gulfstream being close matters, and so that's where I want to go. But for me, it's going to be Nick's Go. And I hope that these two horses put in the showdown that we've all been hoping for. I think horse racing needs some of that. We need some of that good juju and that good press for an event like this, to see two just dynamos just dinging each other all the way around, and hopefully making it super interesting. But if they don't, I'm going to take Empty Tomb, just gobbling them up late, and getting the money for me. So I hope that all of you have a wonderful, wonderful Pegasus World Cup. I hope it's profitable for you. I hope that our picks can help you out. Again, if you want to see how these picks get updated, how our sheets get updated after scratches, make sure that you check out our website, t3handicapping.weebly.com. Like and follow our Facebook page, T3 Handicapping Horse Racing. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Handicapping T3. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I greatly appreciate all your continued support of T3 Handicapping. It's a labor of love, and I love that I'm getting to bring people along for the ride. Good luck on the Pegasus, and as always, cash those tickets.